Hello everyone and welcome to this Durbanites FPL penultimate update, game week 36 review, game week 37 preview. And let's start as usual looking at the table. Still at the top, Fataliteam now having more than 50 points in the bank as he looks to close it up in the next 2 weeks, followed closely by Zakia there with Onana, then Dora, then me, and then Ami slip in one spot down, but still just 4 points away in the league, so not far away from that fourth spot. Then Kokonut Sterren, Hack's team coming up again, tied neck and neck with Fatih, then MBI, and then Squishy down at the bottom. Still 2 weeks to go, lots to play for, and this game week is going to be big. Now, looking at the cup as well, we had another round of games. So this was the first round, and then in the last round, 4 teams bowing out. So Ami's Army, Squishy, Dora, and MBI FC all knocked out, which means that these 4 teams now move on to the semi-finals. Chiefs, Fataliteam, Kokonut Sterren, and Onana. And now looking at how that round finished off. Big wins mostly around, big margins around as well. So now in the semi-finals is the Chiefs versus Kokonut Sterren and Fataliteam versus Onana to get into the final next week. So big games coming up and a very, very big game week as well. Now looking at our player selections across, the staples staying pretty much the same. Cole Palmer still 10 out of 10 managers having him, so not much of a differential there except for captaincy. For Foden and Alexander Isaac, now 9 out of 10 teams facing them. Jordan Pickford, due to his heroics, has now picked in 8 out of 10 teams, really looking solid in that Everton goal. And then Ben White 6 out of 10. Other good contenders all at 5 out of 10. So Bukayo Saka is lost in there somewhere. It's always Erling Haaland who's making his comeback, but not enough managers to make them a staple. Looking at the differentiators for the last week, Jared Bowen and Sergio Reguilon joining Richarlison, 1 out of 10 managers playing them and getting some points in their team as a differentiator. Nicholas Jackson, the young Senegalese star, coming good with 2 goals in the last week, and then Bukayo Saka as well managing to come through with 10 points in the week. Now looking at the hits and misses for that week, a couple of hits here, so 40 plus points coming from Mohamed Sadiq, Zai and myself, mainly due to Erling Haaland being there as a captain, but Zai specifically also having Alexander Isaac captain and having Nicholas Jackson, so picking up from 3 different sources. And then at the back, some pretty good defensive pickups there, 20 points for Hassan Ahmed and Fatih coming out of the defenders there, so they're the only ones pulling forward. And then looking at one miss there from Ami, captaining Kevin De Bruyne and only picking up 4 points. It was a big miss that caused her to lose a big gap as well in the table, and therefore moving down to 5th spot. Now, looking at the best possible selection from all the players that we had, Leno taking up the post there with 6 and Raya on the bench as the reserve goalkeeper. Guardiola, Reguilon and Gabriel making up the back 3. Only 4 in midfield this week. Son, Richarlison, Saka and Palmer coming through. And then right up front, the stars of the week at the forwards. Haaland with his 21 points being nominated the captain, Jackson coming in with 16 and Isaac 7, and then looking at the bench, 3 solid 6s sitting on the bench there, 1 from midfield, 2 from defense, means that you would have got 111 with this particular selection, 135 including the bench, for a reasonable cost of 87.4. Now, how will that compare looking at this week's fixtures? Looking at this week's fixtures, we've got now only 2 weeks left and the last double game week of the season with 6 teams playing twice. From here we've only selected 4 that have a reasonable chance of getting up some good points here. So Chelsea with 2 fairly good games against Notts Forest and Brighton. Brighton haven't really been firing and Notts Forest are in a relegation battle. Chelsea should be good value for money to pick up against that. Newcastle coming in with a heavily injured defense, but looking forward to possibly having Kieran Trippier coming back into the team, also taking on Brighton, who again they are really struggling currently, and Manchester United. Winnable games based on Newcastle's current form, and even if they're not winning, they're definitely scoring because they are pretty good in attack currently. Spurs having a good one against Burnley. Hopefully they can now break their losing streak and get something happening, but then taking on Manchester City in what could potentially be a championship decider, so a big one in game week 37, and City of course taking on Fulham, and Tottenham Not easy games, but with Erling Haaland coming back on form, Manchester City also have no injury concerns in their entire squad, so they are at full strength with no other competitions to focus on except the FA Cup after the season concludes. So you better believe they're going to be coming for that title. Looking at the ones that I would avoid, Arsenal, who are doing really, really well, are taking on Manchester United this weekend. Again, Manchester United not in the best of forms, but they have been spoilers. Just ask Liverpool, who are now fading away from the championship. Aston Villa taking on Liverpool, and conversely, Liverpool taking on Aston Villa. Super tough top four battle there. Burnley having a tough run this week, of course, as do Fulham. Manchester United with probably the three worst games to finish off the season: Arsenal, Newcastle, and Brighton. So again, you'll see that we've called out some players because chances are they will be able to score. I seriously doubt they will be able to win and hang on to a European spot. And then Brighton also having Newcastle, Chelsea, and Manchester United. Really, really tough end to their league season with three teams in the top seven. So that's going to be really, really tough for them. Now, what does that mean for us? Looking at the back line, the selection is now getting a bit intense. Only two goalkeepers that are in doubt there. So Robert Sanchez from Chelsea. So chances are that Petrovic will feature in the double game week. And then Martinez from Villa is also doubtful, but I wouldn't have recommended him against Liverpool anyway. Newcastle's defensive woes, you can see it right there. Sky is out, Botman is out. Trippier is still doubtful, but more likely to play than not. Estupinan is out from Brighton. Thiago Silva, very, very important defender, out for Chelsea, as is Disasi. Udogie out for Spurs, and Bogle out for Sheffield United. However, looking at the picks, so you've got Pickford, who's been in great form against Everton, and they're taking on Sheffield United this week, who have been super weak at scoring. Dubravka in and Pope in for Newcastle. So here it's a real toss-up as to who will play. Pope is coming back from a long injury on the sidelines. Dubravka has been in good form for Newcastle. It's a double game week, so not sure how this will pan out. Therefore, recommending either one of them because Newcastle should have a good run. Then looking at Petrovic for Chelsea, of course, who will replace Sanchez, and Edison from Manchester City. Looking at defenses, Chalobah and Gusto are two that we're bringing in for Chelsea here. Chalobah because he's been scoring as well from set pieces for Chelsea, and Gusto because he is a flying wingback who is able to put in those killer crosses. Now, Trippier is definitely in the selection. If he's going to play, he's a dead ball specialist as well, swinging in the corners. So all the chances here to get goals and assists for Kieran Trippier, even if not the clean sheet with the defensive issues at Newcastle. The Arsenal trio there of Saliba, White, and Gabriel, definitely have to recommend them week after week. It's not an easy fixture against Manchester United. They do have a good attack. That being said, these guys are the top three defenders in the league currently, so I have to recommend them. Use them cautiously if you have them. Branthwaite from Everton, he's been scoring as well. The youngster is doing really well in the new attacking wing-back role that he's got. So one to look at for Everton's game against Sheffield United. Then you're looking at Manchester City's Kyle Walker, same defensive threat from the wing-back. And from Spurs, Romero and Porro from the back, always good at corners as well, dinking in the goals, getting the assists. So two that you might want to look at for Spurs, a double game week this week. Now, with the Spurs players, again, goes without saying, I'm not recommending that you buy any Spurs players. However, if you do have them in your squad, might be worthwhile to put them onto the field this week for the double game week, or keep them on the bench if you're going to use the bench boost. Now, looking at the midfield, only a few injuries that are impacting teams. So, Kaoru Matoma is still out for Brighton and is definitely missing the rest of the season. Thiago Jota is now doubtful for Liverpool. I don't think he will make the starting lineup. And Rashford is definitely out for United as well. Looks like that's the end of his season with United. And Bruno Fernandes is he is doubtful, but he will probably play because these are such big games for United. So, looking at the picks then, Chelsea has got a lot of names that I want to look at now. Cole Palmer, without doubt, has got to be right up there at the top. But Conor Gallagher and Noni Madueke both have been scoring in the last couple of weeks. So ones that you might want to look at if you don't have the space or the money to bring in anyone else. And then Raheem Sterling is back from injury. Not sure how his form will be, but he has been a potentially good source for points. From Manchester City, we're looking at Foden and De Bruyne. I think if City are serious about going for the title, these are two that are in the starting lineup every single game from now to the end of the season, with guys like Silva backing them up and Doku as well. But I think Foden and De Bruyne are the heart of that Manchester City midfield. Then looking at Arsenal, the only one I'm dropping out from is Martin Odegaard currently, but Saka, Trossard, Havertz, these are guys, again, not an easy game against Manchester United this week. They could score a lot, they could score none, but they really have been in too good form for me not to mention them this week. Just wanted to make sure I call out Arsenal do not have a double game week this week, so if you're looking to score with that double game week, you've got to leave out the Arsenal players. But you might want to look at Anthony Gordon and Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle. Both of them have been doing really good with Newcastle's attacking flair, and of course good games to come up in this double game week. And then for Manchester United, again facing a very tough set of fixtures. However, Garnacho and Fernandes remain the best attacking midfielders in terms of statistics and expected goals or impactful passes, or big passes, big chances, shots within the box. So these are two that you want to look at who might be able to get you some points and are playing a double game week this week. Then looking at the stars from last week, looking at the forwards, only few impacted. So Ewan Ferguson, the youngster from Brighton, he's not in and probably will miss the rest of the season, as will Anthony Martial, probably spending his last season at Manchester United. They will be looking to transfer him out. And Timo Werner, unfortunately, ending his loan spell at Spurs, well, unless they decide to buy him on the bench. So that's not going to be really good for him. Now looking at the picks, we've got Alexander Isak for Newcastle and Callum Wilson. That duo has been scoring regularly. Good fixtures, double game week this week, so definitely wants to consider. Erling Haaland is, I said it last week, I think he's going to be back. 4 goals in a week. I don't know what you call that, but I think with a double game week coming in, if you don't have him on your team, it is a big risk. He might fail, he might succeed, but I think if he succeeds in a very big way, that's potentially the game changer. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is also knocking goals almost every week now for Everton, and they've got Sheffield United, who have the worst defensive record in the Premier League, so looking at him putting in a couple of goals. Jean-Philippe Mateta as well, Crystal Palace, a chance for him. I think Crystal Palace are going up against Wolves this week, so a chance for them to actually get some goals there. And then you're looking at Nicholas Jackson, again the youngster from Chelsea. 2 very winnable games, 2 fairly easy opponents to get behind, and he is hitting great form now. And then Yohan Wissa from Brentford. Brentford also have a fairly good game ahead of them this week, so a trip to Bournemouth, and a chance for them to get some points and move up in the table. So that's what we have for game week 37. Big double game week, guys. Really focus on getting those players that are playing twice this week. Looking at the scout and looking at the app, call outs here for captaincy of Cole Palmer or Erling Haaland, but that's kind of where millions of managers are going this week, and probably almost everyone in this league is going one way or the other. If you're looking for differentiators, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who might do something, Alexander Isak might do something, or you might be looking at someone who's pulling in from the back line here. Kieran Trippier, if he's back, could be a changer. Anthony Gordon as well. So that's what we're sitting at. Good luck to everyone. We're going to come back with updates on the cup as well for next week, which will be the final review game week before the final week of the season. And then we'll be coming back with news on a follow-up, on a wrap-up on the season, looking at some stats, looking at some big movers, and looking at the best performers. But until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, please. And let's see if you want to see more of this coming up next season. Then we have some prep work to do. But until then, good luck for now.